So we'll call this meeting to order, January 2025. New year. 4 o'clock. We do a roll call, please.
David Evil is absent. Joe Kaiser.
Here.
Tony Stallsmith.
Here.
Susan Jett. Here. Ron Page. Here.
As shown on the agenda, our new officers are in place. Susan is our secretary, and David Hudson is our vice chair, and I'm the new chair for this year. Can I have a moment of silence? Moment of silence. I'll take it. Okay, thank you. For the agenda, I believe Joe has an amendment we must make. Yeah, we need to change the date to 2025. And Joe had a suggestion for the agenda, an amendment. Did you want to?
Well, I heard it, and I was just doing our special meeting earlier. See if we could go to executive session for our special meeting. If not, then I recommend this. I just thought
We need to approve for the agenda then?
I'll make that motion.
Need a second?
I second.
All in favor? All opposed? Approval for the minutes for December 16th. I need a chance to read those.
The text should be not
Except for changes the date on them, I make a motion to accept them the way they are. 24. Oh, that's right. Sorry, okay.
Got a minutes.
Let's leave that alone.
Let's leave it out with the Lord, huh?
Here, this one. This one. Here, give me yours.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Joe, is it seconded?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Now let's take a property owner discussion. If anybody would like to come up to the mic, we have 3 minutes. If there's anyone that would like to make any comments. No? Okay. Now the whole business, the 2025 landscape contract. We just had a work meeting on that, as some of you are here for, where we interviewed all 4 companies. Are there any motions that anybody would like to make?
Can I speak to something about the water contract?
First, we need a motion first, before we do the discussion.
To talk about the old business?
Well, is there anything that we need to discuss anymore? Is there any discussion?
I think we can just have a conversation right now. We're not, we don't need to be emotional. We're going to make any decision right now.
All right. Would you like to say something?
I'll go back.
You go last, okay? Joe?
We entertained, I guess, 4 different contractors, is that correct? On the landscaping, and all of these were good. I mean, there was nothing that was just completely out of line. I did not think. We asked some pointed questions and got some pretty good answers. And I just, each one I jotted down a ton of notes, and I'm not going to read all my notes. The Haney guys are local, been around here forever. However, I wrote down that they only have a 5-man crew, and that's probably adequate to do what we need to do. But and they have a lot of equipment, but some of the equipment is not owned by the company and so forth. But anyway, they figure. The first, a man was at the hydro seeding, was that the first one we spoke with?
Ron, the first one we saw that day.
Right, yeah, right.
And then the next one was Peyton Davis with D5.
We heard from Brian Malone, and he is doing the work currently. And I mean, gave adequate answers on what we asked there. The other young man with the hydro seeding seemed to be, his figure is a little bit negotiable. He did speak to that. He gave very good responses, seemed very aggressive. But just not overly experienced, but it seemed like a good guy, a good legal. Now I'm just giving you my opinions, okay? And the Bennett's, which is out of Jonesboro, my personal concerns with that is travel distance, how far they are, and their contract proposal is quite a bit more expensive. They did come down a little, it still makes it, I think, out of reach. They have absolutely so much work that I don't see how they can do it, to be honest with you. They have an 8-man crew, I guess they say, or 10 time, full-time employees, 10 full-time employees year-round. And I don't know. I would hate to wake up every morning and have that list of what they have to do, and then know you have to take on this job. So I'm on the fence on that one. That's just my personal opinion. So go ahead.
Rob?
May I speak? Is it your intent to make a decision after we just had this working meeting?
I don't know.
Or is it your intent to be able to look over your notes, call the references?
I didn't know what was appropriate. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
We were planning on having this work meeting before now.
Exactly.
So can we wait another month to?
What's going to happen with that is that whatever their annual amount is will be divided by 11 months instead of by 12. But I think that y'all gathered a lot of information today. You got references. You know. So I would think that maybe your motion is to push this off to the next meeting to make a final decision.
Well, that's what we have to decide.
Yeah.
Is that
Or
right?
can we discuss it in executive session? It's an employee.
It would be a contract, not really considered an employee, but I don't believe that we couldn't have another working session after we had an opportunity to check your references and do all the things from your notes.
Can we have a special meeting
We could,
to make a decision?
we could.
Because a working meeting, we can't make a motion.
Correct.
So,
I think it needs to be handled sooner than later myself.
so we said, the lawyer said we do a special meeting a week after our meeting, our regular meeting, is that
We
correct?
could do it next week. Today's our regular meeting.
So is that what you need a motion to do? Is to postpone?
Let's just do a special meeting.
Well, as I said,
I mean, I think it's a good idea so we can review all this because my brain is full.
yeah.
Would you want to do another Monday? Just do it the 27th?
There it goes.
This is working. Okay.
Do you want to push it 1 week and maybe do the
Listen,
27th?
Joe, would you want to wait a week to get all the information? Or do you feel-
Okay, we're discussing it now.
Okay.
They're all out there, we can wait and do another week. I don't care. There's a lot of information to absorb.
Would you rather, would you just want to wait?
Well, I've kind of made my mind, but yeah, I could run away. What about the group? I mean, what's everybody else think?
I wouldn't mind doing it next week if I could call in on that. But I already have a pretty good feel for the folks that I would select based on what they said today.
Right.
So, that would be fine. What I can tell you, I want people to vote.
Okay, yeah, I got that. Are you ready to make a decision today?
I could.
Okay.
I'm not ready to make a decision
commissioners are already saying they already have made their decision.
Okay. I need, there's a lot of information to absorb. I'd be fine with waiting.
Actually, we could hold off a week if you don't mind, Joe.
That'd be fine.
Because we don't have David having the opportunity. I don't think he called in. I don't think we called him.
Well, he said he's too sick to talk until I asked him to come.
David said that.
Anyway, let's do that.
You feel more comfortable?
Yes,
You feel more comfortable?
One way or the other. I know what my research told me after we got some information. And people that I'm aware of who have commented, and that's why I specifically asked about Fred and about Larry, because I know those people really well. So I didn't trust the answers.
Is that what the motion should be, a special meeting a week next week to make a decision, have some discussion and make a decision? So come to that special meeting with your questions and we'll make a decision. Betsy? Betsy, what do you have? Ask Betsy.
Yep. What's the date? Maybe the 27th?
Maybe it's a special meeting, we just, we make a motion, we have to set, just say.
So I think there's a little old business you have to make.
Yes.
Monday, 4
Monday
o'clock.
the 27th.
let's just make it official, make a motion that we move to a special meeting for 2025 landscape contract next Monday. At what time? 4 p.m.
I would second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes.
Question about that, is that all right?
Not yet.
You have to, hold on a second. We need to ask, who we usually use make a motion to say?
What's the word, let somebody talk out of it?
Joe Fowler just made a motion, didn't he? He said, motion to have a special meeting on January.
Gentleman wants to make a comment.
No, I just had a question when you're done voting. I just wondered, when you had a project or a contract situation, where do you advertise for that?
Was it?
How's the contract signed out?
Can you come up to, we have property owners at there also that come up and ask us questions?
But the bottom line was, it went out in September to newspapers.
All right, let's take that on the agenda here. Lake management report.
That's Jeff.
Jeff
This is
Lott.
Jeff.
Oh, that's
He stayed right there.
Jeff, sorry, we're still thinking grass.
Landscaping falls in as well, that's why I was curious.
Flip the little button on, right here on the microphone.
I'm going to let Jeff talk.
I'm here just to answer questions. I'm not sure if I need this or not. We can hear pretty good.
There you go.
I really didn't have a presentation. I thought, I was under the impression you guys had questions for me based on all the information that I had compiled and turned in. So if that's something I can help answer any questions.
Don't open it up for questions, because I'm loaded. Because the lakes are my passion.
Sure, mine too.
And so,
Part of it.
a lot of I've read the report, I've been over it 3 or 4 times, a shocking survey and so forth. Part of that concern to me was probably the depth that some of that was done in and the time of year. Fish had already moved back out, probably in deeper waters. I fish every day, I can tell you where they're at. They're not up 8 or 10 foot water. I don't know where you shopped at, but there is a gigantic problem of carp in Omaha, and we had a special bow shooting thing, and they killed over 600 pounds of carp in 2 days. And there's that, they hadn't even touched it. But anyway, that's where we're going. My question was this, and this is just a biological question. When you fertilize a lake, how long does it stay murky?
That can depend on the environment at the time, but typically we're finding that, we're going to need to fertilize again if we're trying to keep that target generally in about 3 months, typically, 3 to 4.
So it stays really murky for 3 months?
Really murky is, we can control clarity with the rate based on individual lakes. So that's all done by monitoring that second depth, adjusting that rate. So those recommendations came from the state of Arkansas. the University of Arkansas.
I'm fine, I think the fertilizer's great. There have been some questions raised or concerns.
Sure, we'll turn it pea soup green, nobody wants that.
Getting it dirty and so forth, and I don't foresee that. The lakes that I've been in that were fertilized, they worked for a few days, and fishing was horrible for about a week and a half, and then everything was okay.
This is a long-term accumulative effect. We're not trying to just shock this lake with full of fertilizer and make a big bloom and then we're done. This is an ongoing program to keep that plankton and that ecosystem growing at an even pace.
So based on your report, you felt like or biologically, that Thunderbird was probably in the better shape as far as fish, bass population and so forth than some of the other lakes, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
based on my own experience and the shop.
okay.
And maybe yours as well.
Yeah, okay. And so it would be smart to manage that lake.
Sure.
It's a really good fishery.
They all have potential. All the lakes have
All of them
potential.
have potential.
Yes. But sure, I mean, it's a matter of, where do you want to spend your money? Do you want to spread it out? Do you want to focus on individual lakes? That's where you guys decide.
And I agree with your report too in saying that there basically is no structure or hideaways for fry.
No.
When that happens, and we usually get an okay spawn, but they get eaten as soon as they hatch, so we really don't get the fish out. My question to you as a biologist, do you think that, and I've got books here and I've researched what Game and Fish is doing, and they have changed their mode a little bit as far as slot limits go. They are imposing a up to limit, and then you can only keep one big one on several lakes.
Yes.
I've fished all of them.
They're changing their entire bass program,
Right.
and they're trying to target different areas, some for trophy, some for numbers, so that's where that comes.
So could we, in your professional opinion, benefit from some sort of a slot limit, or let's just say, for instance, we say, and it would be hard to not do it on all the lakes, but on all the lakes from 0 to 15 inches, you can keep whatever the state rules are, which is 10 bass, you can keep 10 of them. Past that, you can only keep one fish that's over 16 inches. Everything else you can, so you're only allowed 10 fish, one of which could be over 16 inches.
Right.
That's it. Would we benefit from something like that?
You would benefit from that, especially in recruitment, because some of those older fish are going to be the fish that do the most productions for recruitment. So leaving those more mature females in particular is very helpful down there, especially when you're trying to grow from where you are now. Because in most cases, we find that what we need to do is remove a lot of fish, and this is not the situation here. We're low on numbers across the board.
But would you think it would be detrimental, let's say if just some guys went out pleasure fishing, they wanted to harvest 10 bass a day and they were 8 to 10 inches long, is that going to hurt us, or?
I don't think I have enough information yet to, because of the timing, as you say, we did a fall shot, which we still had good water temperatures. The fish were still more shallow, and at night they are more shallow. But until I had 2 or 3 probably shock surveys over time, it might not be smart to say yes or no to that. What I see right now, I wouldn't want to encourage a lot of people keeping fish for the next couple of years.
But I'm not a proponent of catch and release, that just personally. I've got some good friends that are biologists over at Corning, raise the fish, and they said that's a nightmare. They've done that at Poinsett Lake, which I grew up fishing that lake down there, and it has exploded. But then again, they drained it dry and redid it, and now look what's happened. It's phenomenal, probably the best fishery in north part of Arkansas.
The new lake is quite a producer.
It's going on, so I think that personally we could benefit from some sort of regulations on our bass. I don't want to see us go to catch and release, but
No, I don't think that's necessary.
I think we could. So you're saying we could benefit from some sort of slot, whatever we come up with?
I do think that, and as far as sticking with the state regulations in most cases, that's probably the right thing to do. Just manage for some, so that you can keep some more mature fish, just to put more recruitment into the lake.
Now, the crappie seem to be sort of not much there. So would we benefit from lowering the overall limit of crappie to like 15 per day?
I think it would be benefit from that, as well as actually adding crappie, but I wouldn't add crappie until I added some honestly, like stocking right now is kind of a waste of money. You're gonna lose most of what you put in the water.
Okay. So we could benefit from a length limit of 10 inches and on crappie and 15 maximum.
Well, it takes about 9 to 10 inches before crappie is sexually mature and is able to start to spawn, so that's a good target, 10 inches.
Okay. I'm glad we're
I know that you wanted input, but I don't fish. I like to go out and drink my feet in the water, and my husband's a fish hunter. He said, "What are you doing?" So I'm not. But everything that you wrote, I mean, you're the professional. Like we are. I am totally depending on what you advise, and Joe is our lake guy, and it sounds like y'all are talking about the same thing. I'm good, and conservative is better in my mind than just doing everything at one time. Put out in that report when to do what and how to do it. I thought you know what you're talking about, and I trusted what you put in that report. So
Well, I tried to give factual and knowledgeable stuff on there so you guys can get the right information you need to make the decisions you're trying to make.
I like to say, I'm looking over here the last, is not.
it's read on.
Can you hear me?
While he's playing, I want to tell you, you made me look up stuff that I didn't understand in that report, and thank you very much. And I even called the folks down at Fish and Wildlife. So your report was spot on from several places that they looked at.
Well, thank you. I'm certainly trying to give y'all the right information.
Yeah. So what I was looking at here, just some, I think it needs to be said that you were talking about, A, for safety, no diving. We already have a rule about not swimming around the platforms, docks, and that kind of
This is
stuff.
such a shallow
Yeah.
situation. About 90% of your docks are not safe.
And most importantly, you were talking about the algae that, and the statement you made here, the algae that's reported in Lake Omaha poses no health risk to humans or animals, and I think that is to make sure that people understand that it's been tested.
There are toxins that can come from cyanobacteria, but that is not what we have.
That's not what you have there. That's, yeah. So
And
I just
that
want
can
to
be
make that known.
tested to find out if it's just strictly a filamentous algae or if it's the cyanobacteria. I can tell if it's one or the other, but I cannot tell if that particular species is toxic without a laboratory.
Okay. So, but we do need to get a lab.
No, I think the thing to do is to monitor these algae and test to see to make sure that they're not cyanobacteria, which we can do ourselves. And then, hey, we say, yeah, this is. Then we send that sample to the lab to see if that particular one is a toxic producer.
Okay.
And so far, I've never seen or heard of a toxic out bloom here in this area or anywhere around here. Grand Lake is the last place I know that happened, and it was, I think, in like 2015 or 2015 or 16. So that's about as close as I've ever seen that happen in this region of the country. But it can happen. It happens in Arkansas, but generally it's in much smaller bodies of water that become stagnant, super hot, loaded up with nutrients from cow pastures and such.
Right. Thank you. Is there anything?
Because the diving from docks, platforms, and slides, I think
Yeah.
that there's nothing we can, our little docks and the marinas, we have signs posted, but people that have their own, they're always calling Betsy, going, come and get the grass out from my dock.
Well, we have eliminated quite a bit of aquatic vegetation. The algae problem is a very expensive problem for you to deal with, and a lot of it is because of the sediment in the lake. So those go together. We can put algicides that are safe out there, suppress it. We'll never eradicate it without dredging. And even then, we're just going to set it way back. I mean, it's an ongoing thing. It never goes away completely. It's always going to be in your legs. And my recommendation to you guys is I would look to have a lake manager, whether it's someone like myself that you contract or someone that you eventually have on staff. It's just, I think, an important part of your community to have that going on all the time. So hopefully we can help you with it, and if you decide you want to do some of these activities that are in the report, I I'd sure like to be the one that does it.
Okay.
Can I ask some questions? From your report, it looks like, lake fertilization, then habitat installation, and then it gets to the sediment removal. Are those kind of the steps that you suggest?
Those are the three things that we can do that are going to improve your lakes as far as fisheries go the most. So the sediment removal is obviously the most extensive and expensive because it requires a drawdown, which I think if my report may recommended that you draw one lake down every 7 years.
Right.
It gives you the opportunity to dredge what you can, what you can afford to, and it also allows homeowners to do maintenance on their properties or their seawalls or whatever their docks. And I think that's the way to do it. That's what I would always recommend.
We've talked a little bit about dredging and the different types of dredging, and I think you and I have talked about our challenges of how to get the silt out, where to set and dry, how to remove it. And we've even talked about possibly pumping it into the deeper areas of the lake to where it wouldn't have to be removed. Have you thought any more about that?
The pumping it into the deeper areas is probably the last resort. I wouldn't want to approach that unless there's just no other method for you. And even that would be expensive because it would have to be done from a hydraulic dredging. So that's going to be the most expensive process. Lowering the lake and having equipment like excavators and backhoes is the least expensive way to do it. In your case, you're very limited to access to the lake. That's where the problem is. By the time they built the Hot Springs Village, for example, they kind of knew that was going to be an issue. So there's a lot of common areas around those lakes that the Property Owners Association can access the lakes with equipment when they want to without having to go through anyone's properties. In your case, that wasn't really something that was thought about. The first village built in the 50s and 60s, so access to the lake is going to be mostly around the dams and boat ramps. That's going to limit, how much can be brought in and out. When you pull this material out, it has to be stockpiled somewhere outside on the bank until it dries enough to haul away. It's much too wet and gooey to just throw in a truck and drive down the road. It takes months for that to be dried out. If it's on a barge, it has to be put in a mesh bag, pushed off onto the land, and again dried to haul. So it takes some amount of time.
Yeah.
But it's something that can be done at targeted areas. It's not like we have to just do the whole lake. It can be targeted to certain coves, certain areas that are worse than others. I think we have a map that provided you on the May report. It kind of shows you the depth and where this stuff is. And eventually some of these boat docks will be impassable. So that's the way to handle it. I think it's more of a spot treatment type of situation instead of just thinking, hey, I got to dredge the whole lake. It's not going to be like that. We have to dredge where we need to.
Those are my only questions.
Would you say that we would immediately benefit from structure or something?
Absolutely.
Dredge? So right now.
Structure and fertilization will start to turn the tables immediately.
So we have he's one of the guys that's here that has, come up with the most clever thing I've ever seen in my life.
I sent it to you.
A barrel.
The barrels, I've seen those similar before.
And it wouldn't cover everything, but
Right.
boy, I'm telling you, that thing can hold a bunch of fish.
It will, and there's no reason not to use those. In my opinion, there is some better habitat than that available, but they do work. The thing you have to kind of watch out for is plasticizers, these microplastics from cutting plastic. Those can cause problems in the water over time. So plasticizers, the more rigid like a barrel, is going to have less of those. So that's not a huge problem. But putting the right plastic in there and not building them on the side of the lake where you're cutting all these PVC shavings and then they're getting washed into the lake. That's an issue. And one thing in the report that probably got overlooked by most is this erosion around these homes that are getting built. They're part of the problem. This is why a lot of it got there in the beginning. There's much more flowed in from creek since then. But, I would not allow them, if it was my decision, to just clear a lot and leave it bare on the side of a hill. Someone has to retain that soil.
That's got to be
That
fixed.
should
We're
be
about to
part-
run out of lots on Thunderbirds. It's not going to matter, they're probably.
I can tell you that's a planning and zoning thing. It's not something Sid has anything to do, but recently, over the last few months, there has been an ordinance that's put in place where they've got to put up the fabric barrier, and I have seen a few of the lots where construction was going on, that they've gone back and done that. So that is something that we read from your report. We reached out to the city and spoke to them about it, asked some questions, and that's an ordinance they're going to start enforcing.
Yeah, that'd be good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
So you could help us with the structure thing,
Sure.
advise us on what we ought to do, and that kind of.
I
Like
can
you can get
install
one
it
of them
for you.
guys in Springdale, and they build a beautiful house, but they're expensive, you know.
Yeah, I like Mossback fish habitat. It's my favorite. It's built right. It's got all the right features, but it's not cheap. But I can negotiate on your behalf for a 20% discount from anything we buy from them.
No kidding.
Yes.
Man, come on.
And it only took me 3 minutes.
Can you get 25? All right,
I think I can if you buy enough of it. I believe I can get 25.
I'm telling you, that their stuff is phenomenal, but from a poor old boy standpoint, I'm like, man, that's high.
It is.
It would work.
It's very effective. I think we can mix and match some of that and keep the cost down and then, go back and add over time. That's the way to do it. But yes, I did get us 20% immediately, took 2 phone calls and a meeting with the owner. But I think one more meeting with the owner and a little bit of order, we'll get up to 25.
Yeah, that's I
I
personally,
like that.
not telling everybody how to spend their money, but instead of stocking a bunch of fish and everything, we need to invest in like what he's talking about, right? Like pretty daggone fast.
You need to grow what you have.
And they're gonna start spawning here in April, May.
Right.
So we could catch a little bit of that spawn if we put their spawn habitats out.
Yes.
I mean, if we could just buy a few.
Well,
What
let's get
are the
together.
prices?
Expand spawning habitat with gravel areas as well, just by dumping.
Yeah.
Soft mud, as you know, is not the best spawning habitat.
And I think in your report said, I had never even thought about that, is making these containers with gravel.
Yes.
To put up, I was like, oh man, that'd be awesome.
And you can put a little habitat right there with them so that you have kind of a double thing going on.
So in your opinion, we would benefit from structure and so forth management immediately
Yes.
instead of stopping.
Yes.
What is the cost of something like that?
It's just going to depend on how much we put out there. I can get together an exact cost. It's going to be about quantity. There's various different styles, and so each one has a little different price points. It's like we can put together these bundles, or we can put together individuals of our own. It's going to depend on what we decide to put out there, and then we can get a price exact for you.
What kind of an estimate? I mean, just something.
Let me ask you this, what if we gave you a dollar amount and said, we have X amount of dollars to spend, and you come back to us and tell us what we can get for that?
That's great. That's how I was thinking when I drove over here. What's the best thing for me to say to you? Well, I think that you just hit it right. It's like, how much do you want to put in the lake? And then I can tell you what you can get for that. Or I can come back and we can do it from the other angle. Either one. But that's probably going to be the most effective way. Is like, do you know you want to put this much into that? I tell you how much you can get for that. And I can get it installed as well.
I got 25,000 in the budget, what if we say 10,000? We're not saying to spend it, we're saying from this meeting,
I'm saying
put us
we can
together,
spend
that's what
$5,000.
we can do with fertilization and habitat for 10 grand.
For all, yes.
Yes, which rate do you think would be the best to target? I mean, we're looking at you as our professional.
So we don't need to overspend in one area, we need to do what's in your report.
Well, let me ask this from you. Do you feel like it's better to say go to one lake and build it up and get it complete, move to another lake? Or would you feel like it would be better for the community if you scattered this about in all 7 lakes and tried to slowly build them all?
I think you need to concentrate between Omaha and Thunderbird immediately.
Well, that was my original thing.
Then the little ones, they may take care of themselves, or they may not, but they're hard to load a boat in, they're very fishable, but they're hard to get in and out of, and I think we could take one and manage it, like say Navajo, that could be the cropping machine over there.
I agree.
But, I mean, getting in and out of there, you got about to have darn kayaks. I mean, the boat ramp straight down the full gravel. I mean, it ain't easy.
It's
So I
not
would
easy getting in and out
prefer.
of Chinook with my 21-footer.
That's, I mean, we load in over there and it's a job. I don't like it.
I think Navajo makes a great target for a crappie lake. It could be done at Chinook or Aztec as well, but I think those lakes make sense there.
And they're smaller and the overall cost would be less.
Correct.
Than
Everything is going to be, the cost is going to reflect the size on everything we do.
I just know Thunderbird has some pretty good fish in it, and I would like to promote those dudes spawning and keeping up with what we have in there. We've got great big Kentucky bass in there, but we're catching 3, 4, 4.5 pound Kentucky bass out there. And largemouth, it's absolutely no problem to get a 7 pounder on our Tuesday night tournament. Somebody always comes in with a 7. And same
They shot
thing.
up over, what, 5 pounders at Thunderbird that night, I remember.
Did you? Yeah, there's some demons in there. And then now we've got some mean mouth in there, believe it or not. I'll show you what they're on. But somebody threw some smallmouth in, they caught, and they bred with Kentucky. So we've got a pretty good array there. I would love to see us manage like this part of this money and give you the go ahead to tell us what you think would be best. Let's work on Thunderbird and Omaha and then move on to these little lakes. Is that what you would think?
That's how I would have started, yes. And, you know, Sequoia can benefit to some extent from what we do at Thunderbird. But my question there would be, with the dam issue that you have on Sequoia, if that lake has to be drawn down, are we going to have to draw both lakes down? Because I don't see how you're going to stop that.
It
Goes
goes
to draw down to that certain level.
You draw down about 4 feet or 5 feet on Thunderbird just to get Sequoia.
That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at.
And then it'll stop. I mean,
Right, that's right.
Hopefully it'll stop. Unless
Of
Lord
course,
helps the levee breaks or something.
canal can stand to be a little bit dredged as well.
Yes, for sure.
So anyway, I see, and a couple of years ago, we did a Christmas tree program. We put probably 15 brush piles out between Sequoia and Thunderbird. And they've done okay. I wouldn't say they're loaded with fish, getting out there with livestock and looking at them. There's fish on them, but not like what I had thought. But then it's shrubby cedar trees that we chop down and we had the prisoners do it. And, you know, they're probably gone now after 2 years, so.
They're short-lived, they
Yeah.
do attract fish well, but they are short-lived.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm suggesting to you to use more artificial than natural. I wouldn't discard natural when you have it at your disposal, but it's something that has to be continually replenished, and that's something I think that goes by the wayside.
I mean, what he's telling us basically, let me tell you this in layman terms, he's talking about the Cadillac or the GMC or Chevrolet Silverado version of, because I'm a Chevrolet guy, it's that in the lake with this mossy habitat deal. Those guys have got it going on. I mean, it's their job. And I'd be all about that. So whatever y'all think, it's the board's decision, but that's just my thoughts.
Would you be able to come back to the meeting next month?
I think you can,
Yeah.
you should be able to.
Yeah.
You
So
can-
I guess that was my question, how soon do we need to make this decision?
Yesterday. No, I'm kidding.
About 10 years ago.
Years behind.
Hurry and do it for my 11 months are up. I'm gone.
Can we add it to the special meeting? We could add it to the special meeting this month.
Hey, that's a good idea. Could you get us a price between now and next Monday?
If you'll give me a dollar figure, I'll tell you how much you can get for that. I can give you a price of individual
10,000.
structures, but how is that gonna help you? I can say I can get this many of this, I can do that, if that's what you prefer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so what I'm thinking, if I say, if we give you that $10,000 limit, you tell us what you can get to get us to
I'll
that.
work with that, no,
Yeah.
I'll show you what that buys, and
Okay.
then we'll go from there.
And give us an array, like
Sure.
spawning habitat all the way down to
Absolutely.
8 pounders.
Can you do that in a week, so we could talk about it at the special meeting
Yeah.
versus wait until February?
No, I can have.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So our special meeting agenda is gonna have lake committee on there also.
Correct.
That's next Monday, what's the date on that?
27.
Well, it's still duck season, that's gonna be rough.
You can
Well, it's 4
email
o'clock in the
me.
afternoon.
I was on this morning, and I'm just happy to be here, I'm
Yeah.
so warm.
So
Okay,
let's add that to the agenda for the special
so I need to make a
meeting.
motion.
I'll make a motion that we add the lake management to the special meeting that we've already scheduled, on the 27th at 4 o'clock.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
That's approved.
Good, I talked about all the good landscape work we do too.
I'm gonna ask you about this next one.
2025 bowfish rules or lake changes?
it's like everything else they do, it's convoluted, but it is, it's pretty good. So basically, my recommendation, and this is just me on bow fishing, is that we allow people to bow fish for rough fish only. Arkansas Game and Fish allows people to shoot catfish bow fishing, but it's a small window of time frame. It's from July the 15th until something, I can't remember the date, but it's not the whole year. They allow you to shoot catfish, but people enjoy fishing for catfish here, and I'm not sure we need to shoot them with a bow, but I would say bow fishing for the rough fish, which would be carp, gar, buffalo, if we have any, and that kind of stuff, snakes, and no, let's don't shoot the turtles, they're hard to get off the bow. But let's do that to start with, and see if that doesn't work.
Are they gonna be able to fish from their docks? Are they gonna be able to boat fish from their docks, or is this just gonna be from a boat?
I mean, if you want to shoot them off your dock, I don't have any problem with that. Do you? I mean,
I think we had talked before that we just needed to have some kind of rule of how long their line would be, where they're not standing at their dock shooting at their neighbor's dock.
there's no rule in this entire book on length of lines or anything like that. It's just bow fishing. The only problem we're going to encounter with bow fishing is the guys getting out there in the middle of the night and bow fishing, and people complain because they have lights on the boat. But we'll deal with that when it happens, because I don't think we're going to have an influx of people wanting to bow fish. But let's try that, and I think we're going to need the rule no air boats. Period.
So the only other issue I see there is that when you're all by yourself or your buddy out there and the light shining on a 7-pound largemouth, and you're in the middle of the night, we got to count on them and their ethics, not to shoot your bass.
I know. And how do you combat that?
You shoot them ourselves. I don't mean the bass, I mean the rough
Yeah,
fish.
so you don't open it up to let anybody go out there.
I'm not suggesting that, I'm just saying that's going to be one of the downfalls of that particular.
We did
That's
the
your
special,
generators that run.
we did the special hunt thing, and we only had 2 fellows to do it. And they shot the fire out of the car and loved it, but we just thought it might be simpler just to say, well, it's just open to bow fishing. They do that at Horseshoe Bend, but I bet they don't, not even 5 people that bow fish over there, so.
I would think it over there, and thinking maybe there's a window that is a shorter window and more frequently, something that can be monitored by you guys better than just anybody can go at any time. That's just a thought for you. Because I'm not opposed to it all. Those rough fish need to come out. I'm all in favor of senior removal. I just know enough about people that they're unsupervised out there shooting with a bow and a light. A lot of people shoot whatever they see.
And maybe you could do a season from July until November, because then the fish spawn is over.
I think that's starting to get to a better thing. The carp are up shallow then as well.
So we might entertain as a board, like allowing bow fishing between July the 1st and next day to eliminate the possibility or the temptation to shoot.
I think we'll reduce it dramatically if you'll do that. The summer months, as you know, those bass are going to typically spend their days a little deeper than the boat can
We
shoot.
don't want to do it spawn because then it'd be tempting. Like,
Very.
yeah, I'll
But
take
even in
that.
the middle of the night, a lot of those bigger bass are on the bank.
You talked about having one in April. That's not a good time, or trying to have another
Well,
tournament.
it was, I don't know, we could do that.
If it's monitored like that, it's one thing. It's a tournament. They got to bring their boat back to the dock. Somebody's going to be playing their fish.
We have the
And we
capability.
need to be better prepared and advertise further out. We really tried to put something together pretty quick with thoughts that we were going to be bombarded with fishermen, and then that didn't happen. So, maybe it starts with the tournament, and then we open it up for those months that you're talking about, that's a little safer.
And that's going to wind down anyway because as the population decreases, they're not reproducing.
No, they'll eventually not be any fun not to do it, so. I was just trying to simplify it a little bit, instead of trying to have a tournament, that's not very effective. Anyway, that was my thought on that, and if we are going to do it, we need to make a note in there that they can't use air boats.
Right.
So,
No air boats.
that'd be not,
So I would think we just need to have something in writing that we have our fishermen, when they get their stickers, that they sign, that motion.
Well, let me ask him,
Okay.
on the,
Jeff, he has a question.
just to quickly, on the, if we were, just hypothetically, say we were going to impose a slot limit or something on the lake, do you think it would be best to do a 12 to 15 inch and then 1 over 16, or just up to 15 inches and only 1 over 16?
I think that up to 15 is a very effective way to go.
And should we leave the limit at 10 or 5?
I think I would consider reducing the limit to 5 over the next few years until we have an opportunity to get this population up.
That's what I wanted to hear. So I'm going to make a motion that on all 7 of the lakes, that the city, because they're private lakes, so we're not bound by, we are in a way bound by game fish, but we can impose our own
You
slot.
can't. As
So,
long as it doesn't exceed theirs, you can do that.
so I would say a limit of 5 bass, that's per day, okay? And they have to be, they can be any size, but you can't keep anything over 15 inches, okay?
Okay,
So you can say 0 to 15 inches.
up to 15 inches.
They can only keep 5 bass. They're only allowed 1 fish over 16 inches.
What do you think about a 12-inch minimum for a couple of years?
I'd be tickled with
I
that.
love that too.
Yeah.
So
But would you do 12 to 15 or 12 to 16?
No, I would just say that the fish have to be, 12 to 15, yes.
12 to
12 inch
15.
minimum. Now, on Kentucky bass, I don't think that's
That's
necessary.
not a problem. Large amount of bass, 12 inches to 15 inches, and they can only have 5. You're allowed 1 fish over 16.
Correct.
Because if you took your grandkid and you caught a 7-pounder, you'd want to have that. So
Sure.
that's, that'd be my opinion. If you're good with that,
I think that's a great
there we
start.
go.
Okay.
Yes, all right, I've got that down.
Where's
So
your motion?
can we add this in with the boatfish stuff
Right.
and put something in writing?
This will be lake changes.
So no minimum length limit on Kentucky bass,
Right.
12-inch length limit minimum on largemouth bass, and only 1 over 15 in a 5-fish limit.
Is that
One over-
normal?
1 over 16.
1 over 16.
Yeah.
Number 6.
That's even better.
So who's writing this now?
Well, I'm
I'm
trying
trying to
to
write this down, but I'm telling you now, we need to put something in writing.
Yeah, I know. But Joe, you started talking about 0 to 15.
Well, we're not
gonna do that. I mean,
So 12 inches to 15
12
inches,
inches.
you're allowed to keep 5 fish.
5 fish, 12 to 15 inches long. If something is 10 inches long, you're gonna put it back?
Right.
Okay, and then
If it is
you
over 16 inches, you're allowed 1.
one. And that's for something called largemouth. And you said something about Kentucky.
There's no limit. I mean, you have to stick with Arkansas rules, which is 10, I believe, on Kentucky bass, but it's following game and fish rules.
Okay,
And we hypothetically don't have any smallmouth, so that's not a problem.
okay.
That would be what I would suggest. So,
So the motion is that we put a limit of 5 largemouth bass at 12-inch minimum to 15-inch, with one that can be 16 or more. And no limit, well, we stay with the Arkansas limit with the Kentucky bass
Right.
And that's for all 7
for all
lakes?
7 lakes.
Okay, we got it.
and then also, can we include in that a crappie? Because that's very simple. That length limit of 10 inches minimum, and we can only have 15 a day.
Correct. 10 inch minimum.
10 inches is the
Ah,
smallest.
probably 10-inch
And how
minimum,
many of those can you
15
15 a day.
15 a day?
Yes,
Correct.
If you catch 15 crappie out there right now, you let me know.
Pretty good day.
Okay, so, yes, sir.
That's, we've got
Is that all,
We got a
Joe?
second?
Is that it,
Yeah.
Joe?
That's it, yeah.
We got a second?
I'd be happy to say.
All right, all in favor?
All right.
I'll be in favor too, so it passes.
Sure.
And now, we need to have a way to put that out, get the word out to the public.
Now, it's going to be the honor system anyway. We got nobody to enforce it.
Right, but we still need to put it down, we need to have it in writing.
So what we'll do is we'll put something together in writing, and as people come in and purchase their boat stickers, we can get them to sign it that says that they have received a copy of the newest limits.
Okay.
And that those will be our limits until further notice. So if we want to keep those limits for a couple of years, then we'll just add that as part of our rules and regulations.
And as far
And then we're going to come up with something about boatfish rules for the next meeting.
yes, we're going to move the GoFish to the next meeting.
We put the boat fishing stuff lake management, boat fishing needs to go to lake management, or would the special?
No, both issues,
Rules.
both issues just give you next month.
Next month.
So,
Just put it
okay.
on this next month. All right, waste management updated proposal and flat map.
Very job. They're not here.
They're not here?
No, and every other month they show up, so can we please look at the map that I provided for y'all? The highlighted area is what they are now interested in, and the only thing they're interested in. And we need to make a decision if you want to talk to them about it or if you don't. But we drug this out for like 6 months now.
Is that on the right, is that the,
That's a little L-shaped piece of land, and then you see a line that goes right up towards the center, kind of cuts that little toe off that boot. That's the road that they actually have now. So what's on the left of that road is where the model airplane is. That is the only area, I believe it's 44 acres. And that includes that little bit on the right-hand side of their driveway that they have now. It backs up to the neighborhood, the subdivision that they were asking for previously that we didn't own, but it does not go past. It's only the reserve land. That's all the left that we have left of reserve land out there around waste management period.
okay. So is it including the property that we have the remote control?
Yeah, that is the property.
That's
That's
all
what, that's what this is.
Yep. No, the whole thing there, if you look at the,
Here you have.
This is where they're,
So it's up there, the air promoter is going to be around there.
it's a whole highlighted block.
it is the whole highlighted block of 44 acres. The model airplane area is closer to the road.
Yeah.
They have heard y'all talk about wanting to lease it to them. They don't want to lease anything. They want to buy it, but they would be willing to lease the model airplane part back. I'll tell you something that I learned about waste management that I didn't know before, and I don't think our waste management does it, is they're supposed to be, it's 66 acres. They're supposed to be pressure washing the highway out there once a week. That's supposed to all be washed off, all that mud and dust and all that stuff. You know, waste management in other areas, that's all part of their contracts and requirements. You know, we give them some more land and then we just get some more money less out there.
Okay. You have a motion?
Well, y'all know how I feel about this, so I make a motion that we just don't sell them, don't lease them. We don't need Cherokee Village being turned over to the trash can.
Do you have a second?
I say.
Do we have any other discussion? Ronnie, any thoughts on this?
Oh, I agree with you. I really like the smell. I apologize. I apologize.
Do you agree with the?
No, I don't have anything else to say.
Okay. Well, if there's no discussion, bring it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Go sell them. Betsy, can you
All
write a
opposed?
letter and tell them thank you?
Oh, well.
That's, do we have any new business?
I don't have anything on for new business.
No new business, what's it doing? All right, Betsy, update?
Final refund checks went out. You know, we stopped selling lots in April last year by Commissioner Lowe. We had 36 parcels that their checks were returned from the 2023 refunds. Either passed away, no longer lived there, no forwarding address. After a year, those checks were voided. It left about $880 in that account. This year, we had $4,041 in sales to distribute. $808 went to Hutchison for his 20%. That left us at $3288 to divide between 593 parcels. They got $5.45 per parcel. I think right now, with all checks being out, we have about $18 left in the account, which was just some interest. So at the end of the year, we can either decide to close that account or leave that account open until our 7-year window is over per the settlement agreement. But this was the last refunds that went out. The next one, late committee minutes from the January meeting. I think that I provided those to y'all. I sent them by email and then I printed off a copy. Lake committee is very concerned about some of the algae and some of those things that I think Jeff addressed tonight. What I'd like to do is send over his email from Saturday that I sent to y'all earlier today that gives a lot more detailed description about the algae and the toxins and all of that, and let the Lake Committee read through that and review that. We'll also update them on what steps that were taken for the habitats and fishery stuff, and hopefully that will keep them in the loop and keep them happy. Our golf committee met last week, and they have set the date of April 18th as our upcoming property owners tournament. This will be our 3rd year. We'll do that again, and this year we'll be back at the North Course.
April 18th.
Is that a Friday?
It's a Friday. Should have already worked it out.
I might not have told you the right day, told you.
The 18th is a
It's
19th.
Good Friday, too.
April, it was the 12th. Oh, it wasn't the 12th.
12th.
I'll confirm the date. I'll confirm the date, but we set the date in April for the golf tournament, and the golf committee is working towards pulling all that together. And I'll give you an update with more information and a flyer at the next meeting. We meet the week before our city meeting, so we'll have our flyer and stuff ready. I don't have anything else on the GM update, unless y'all have